Happy New
Hey,
Year, Chris.
what's up?
How you doing?
2025. I'm a little angry today, but I'll be all right. So just let me vent during some of these segments we do today, and I'll be all right. So
all right.
I was not I was not entertained, as they say in the movie Gladiator, about a lot of things that happened over the past week. But we'll talk about it.
College or NFL or both?
A lot. Well, no, yeah, mainly college. NFL is always entertaining to me, but I wasn't happy with some of the things that transpired. But we'll obviously get to that.
Yeah, a lot of debate. We'll get to that. I know you want to talk about your Packers as well because they went down.
I mean, I don't really want to talk about them, but I need like 30 seconds to talk about them when we get to it. And I'll just, there's a couple things I want to say about them. And once I get that out, I'll be good.
All
just
right.
like 30 seconds.
All right.
I'll be quick with it.
I'll give it to you. All right. Well, we always kick it off with college. So let's do it. Derek's not here today, so we'll do our best to sound like we're experts. So you said you were a bit disappointed with the quarterfinals. Talk to me.
Absolutely. I mean, 3 of the 4 games were just total snoozers, no matter whether you're a fan of those teams or not. And it just seems like the whole way that this system is set up, like we were all excited before the season started and we talked about all these things. And now in the first round, how many games were good games? Those 0.
None.
Right?
None.
In the second round, how many games were good games? 1 for half of the game was a good game. So we got 1 good half of football out of what, 8 games? And as a, I am not this, huge college football fan. I don't really have a team that I strive for or anything like that. I just want entertaining close games. And I just feel like I got shafted. I feel like I didn't get anything. And I tried. I sat there. I watched them. And it just seemed like a lot of these teams were just totally out of their element. And I don't know if we can talk about, if you have any ideas about why you think that is. But I don't want to see this every year. I don't think the average fan wants to see it either.
Yeah, here's the thing. Leading into the quarterfinals, the debate was about who should be there, who shouldn't be there, and SMU didn't deserve to be there, Indiana didn't deserve to be there. But then all the teams that we spoke about replacing them lost. Alabama lost to Michigan, South Carolina lost to someone else, I don't know. Ole Miss won, but it was against Duke. So then I feel like the conversation moved away from who should be there or not to, well, all 4 teams that had the bye lost. So is that time off too long? Is the momentum gone? And there's a lot of debate. And it's the first year of it, so I guess there's going to be things that you didn't expect. I don't know. Ohio State got blew Oregon off the park in the first quarter. To me, that's a sign of rust.
Yeah.
Texas came out super hot against ASU. Maybe a bit of rust there. Georgia, Notre Dame. I don't know. I think both of those teams started a little slow, so I'm not sure how you look at that one. And then Penn State and Boise State, I don't think that went any different to how people expected it. So
yeah, but like the whole point of the bye is to like give you an advantage, and every single team that had the bye lost. It went 0-4.
Well, that's the issue, right? Because the teams that had the bye, it was not the NFL where it's 1 week off. This was 3 weeks off. They played December 20 is when the SEC championship was. So, I mean, it's 2.5 weeks off. It might just take some getting used to. This is the first time I'm doing this. I said this on the podcast last week. This is the first time that a playoff game is going to be a team that's had a rest and a team that hasn't had rest. So how are they going to react to that? And I don't know. I don't know if the answer is
what do you think about the conference championship games? It just feels like those are just kind of like a bygone thing. In the NFL, right? You win the division when you win the division. You don't have to play an extra game. And if they're saying they're putting no weight into that game of who gets into the playoffs, why can't it just be the top team for that conference? Like when the regular season is over, like I'm sure you'll have teams that are tied, but you go to the tiebreakers, things of that nature, and you have a winner, and then that's the winner. But it still has no bearing on like whether you still take the top, you still take the top 12 teams, regardless of if they won that conference or not.
Yeah. I mean, that could make sense. That would have probably held teams like Clemson and SMU out. But at the same time, like Alabama lost to Michigan. So I don't think there's any team that can truly say they deserve to be there over another team. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We talked about the layoff being less, and that was better, but still feel like a few weeks, between Christmas and New Year's, and then these games. I don't know what these college kids are doing. I don't know. They're partying, they're visiting with their families. They just don't seem. It just seems like there was just a wide gap between teams ready to play, and we had these same type ranked teams playing all season, and it seemed like it was one of the most competitive, like regular seasons of all time for college football. Right, all these games were amazing, and then to get the top tier that they chose and to just have all these stinkers, I don't know. It just left me disappointed.
I mean, maybe this season alone, there's just not 12 teams that are competitive. There's 4 or 5, maybe 6 that could actually win it, and it's just kind of been a bit of a blowout. I mean, I was most disappointed with Oregon and Ohio State because that was a game that I was super excited about. I mean, Ohio State, Tennessee was another one. So that on paper there were good matchups. So I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened to Oregon. Is it a layoff? Is it they just had a different schedule? I don't know. There's going to be some things to work out. Again, I think we all agree that we like this better than the 4-team playoff.
Yeah, definitely.
But we just, we got to find a way to make sure these games are competitive. And I don't know if you shorten the break between both, or do you extend the break and then everyone's had a break and it's.
And I get in the first round, I think you're going to have the majority stinkers because, they're getting a home game, right? I mean, you're playing the lower tier of the teams. I just thought in the second round, I was hoping that, 2 or 3 or all of these games would be competitive down the stretch, and we just didn't get it. Yeah, like you said, Ohio State, Oregon, what in the world? Well, I mean, I know Ohio State has looked better, but it just looked like Oregon. I mean, they were number 1 team, right? They just looked like they were just not. They just got blown out in the first quarter. So I don't know. It was shocking. I get Georgia a little bit. Obviously, they have a quarterback, never played a game before, never started a game before, and all that stuff. So that makes a little more sense to me. Notre Dame's a seasoned team that's been on big stages. And Boise State kind of made sense to me a little bit, right? So they've never been on the stage. And I mean, Arizona State was the most impressive of the teams that haven't really been here before out of all of them.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? So Penn State and Boise State, first quarter, 14-0, Penn State. Texas and Arizona, first quarter, Texas 14-3. Ohio State, Oregon, first quarter, 14-0. So it's there's rust. There's teams with momentum. And, it's kind of interesting that you've got a semifinal with no conference champions in the semifinal.
Yeah, they're all gone.
The SEC, that was this, I'm going to ask you about the SEC because I've got one team there now, and I think they're a 7-point underdog going into this game. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a rust thing, if there needs to be, maybe not so long between games, but then you're at this time of year where you're competing with the NFL and you're competing with the holidays and everything. So,
well, college is just more of a total team game, right? The NFL, you got your top 5, 6 players on a team, and they are just so important on your team. But that's why the bye is so important in the NFL, because like it gives you that week to get your quarterback healthy or your marquee players. College, it just seems like such a more team game. It just doesn't seem like the bye is as beneficial because you're not using that bye to get 1 or 2 really, really important guys back, because there's just the talent level in college. It's kind of the same throughout 1 through your 22 guys or whatever. So I just don't know if it's going to be as beneficial for these college teams to get a bye as it does like we saw have we seen in the NFL. And the NFL, they cut it to, I mean, only the 1 seeds get buys now. So if you're a 2 seed in the NFL, you got to play a first round. So if I'm one of these teams going forward, the way it's looking, like I'd rather just hit the ground running and start playing, get my home game, get some momentum, get the team feeling good. And obviously it worked out for those teams this year really well.
And then you're going to go back to the importance of the conference championships now, because teams are even less likely to want to play there now. If all 4 of the conference champions bowed out, and we just spoke about the rust and the early start. So, Ohio State losing to Michigan could be the best thing to happen to them, despite all the talk and everything like that, So it's interesting.
I can't defend the SEC. So, I mean, it's been a terrible.
Terrible. It was a bad week for the SEC.
Oh, okay? My God. You can name them off. I mean, it was just bad all around. I mean, good Lord.
Michigan had 10 starters not playing, and Alabama had their full starters. So, I don't know what went wrong there. I mean, that was Alabama's season. They were either red hot or they were ice cold.
Yeah, it just seemed like Alabama were just so deflated that they didn't get into the playoff that they're just like, screw it, we don't care. This bowl game means nothing to us. We'll look at next year. But
which I think that's bad coaching if that's how they felt, because if you're the coach, you go to them, go out there and show them that you should be in the playoffs, and kind of work them up that way. So yeah,
Nick
disappointing.
Saban can say he's not happy, but he's got a little smile inside somewhere. He's got that. Look what happened to you without me.
Do you think Nick Saban needed that reassurance that he's the greatest coach ever? I don't know.
No, but it feels good, when it feels good when they struggle without you. So.
I guess so. All right, so let's just start off with the best game: Texas, Arizona State, SEC. Peach Bowl in Atlanta. I was at the game. It was an awesome atmosphere. The Arizona fans traveled, I think, and they were quietly optimistic. It wasn't like SMU or anyone was like just happy to be there. They were like, "I think we have a chance here." And I mean, again, the first quarter, 14-3, it just looked like another blowout, another terrible game, and we were talking about that. And then they worked their way back into it, and probably were unlucky to lose. But we finally got a good game. We were waiting for it. I was on the Arizona side, so it was just, they were loud, they were on their feet the entire game, and they were pumped. And they were very angry about the no call on the targeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, did you catch the whole game? What'd you make of it?
Oh yeah, I watched the whole game. Yeah, it was a little bit of a snoozer at first, but that Scattaboo, good Lord, have mercy. Yeah. That guy's a beast. He's a little workhorse out there. I mean, he was throwing touchdowns, he was rushing for touchdowns, he was their leading receiver. He just kind of willed them back into the game, and it was very impressive. I think he had some he was sick or had the flu or something like that. I was reading about where he was even he was struggling to even stay upright on the sideline in the second half, and he just played some hero ball and kept them in it. I thought Arizona State over the entirety of the game outplayed Texas. They outscored them on yards. I think they had over 500 yards of offense, but they just had multiple opportunities and they just let it. We could talk about the penalty, and obviously it seemed like somebody wanted Texas to move on there. I don't know what was happening. It seemed a little fishy to me when you look at that on the video, but it just, Arizona State, they couldn't get a field goal. They struggled, and every time they had an opportunity to take the game, they just couldn't do it. And with a team like Texas, you just let them hang around. Eventually they're going to figure it out. And that's kind of what happened in this game.
Yeah. I mean, you're right a bit. Like, defensively, Arizona was so good. The first couple of drives, Texas were moving it, and then they just couldn't move it. Unfortunately, their offense struggled a little bit. Watching the game, Texas stacked the box. Their safeties were up. They were like, "We know you're going to run the ball. We're going to force you to play it." And Arizona was a little, I don't know if they were hesitant to throw the ball for a while, but they were like, "No, we're going to keep trying to run it." And it was struggling for a little bit. But yeah, Scattaboo. I was surprised he didn't get as much, talk about Heisman. It was all about Ashton Jeanty. I'm not taking anything away from Ashton Jeanty and that, but I watched him in the Big 12 championship, and he was like a pinball, just bouncing off dudes. He came up against a much bigger, more physical team in Texas, and still was all over the place, receiving, running, throwing. It was really awesome.
Yeah, they talk about, that the play of the game that changed the momentum was that safety, and it's only a 2-point play, but I mean, the whole place just went wild, and they just got a little bit of life, and that's all they needed. And they just took off from there.
Yeah. There was so Quinn Ewers scored with 10 to go in the fourth quarter to make it 24-8, and it was a 99.9% win probability for Texas. From there, it dipped all the way down to Arizona actually had a chance, and then when it was 4th and 13 in overtime, Arizona was at 91%. That, I mean, 4th and 13, that's, you talk about the targeting, you talk about everything, but 4th and 13, how you let a touchdown in there
terrible
was crazy.
Play. Yeah, why you get don't let a man past you. We talk about it all the time, but it seems to happen all the time. And you got to give it to Ewers. It was a perfect throw. It was a beautiful throw in a clutch moment. I think what he get offered, I read he got offered $6 million by a team to leave Texas and go somewhere else this next year for another year of college. So, which is the highest that they said they've ever given. So, because Arch is on his way in and Ewers is on his way out. So, but yeah, I mean, he definitely performed there when the lights were brightest in the clutch there. That was a beautiful throw. But yeah, terrible defensive play.
Yeah, and like again, the angle I was at, I saw the guy run straight through, and it was like Ewers again. Yeah, like you said, great play from Ewers. He didn't even hesitate. He was like, that dude's going to be there. And at 4th and 13, when it's you miss that up, you go home. It was really, really impressive. But
can we, before we get to the penalty, can we talk about field goal kicking for a second? I mean, where are these college teams getting these field goal kickers at? What was the Arizona State? I think it was they were like 4 of during the season. They were like 4 of 12.
Yeah,
like, was that outside of 30 yards or something like that? Like you can't find a kicker to make 50% of the kicks. I hate that the field goal kicking determines the outcomes of all these games. None of these guys can make a kick. They're terrible at it. So I don't know. I just thought it was embarrassing seeing these guys just plunk them off the uprights again and again and again. It's like 25 yards. You can't make a 25-yard field goal. What are we doing?
Well, it was so awesome because I think Texas had a field goal late and missed it, and you saw Arizona. Like I was on the side, so I couldn't tell if it was going over, but you see the Arizona fans go up and cheer, so like you knew right away he'd missed it. And then that last one with 2 seconds to go, they didn't go up, so I'm like, oh, he's kicked it, and then you just see it doink off that post, and I've just never seen a crowd just get up on their feet and just get so much belief in them. It was good. I mean, yeah. You should be making those kicks, but again, they're college kids, and
I feel bad for them. I feel bad they even get put in those situations. They look, you couldn't tell, like when they show the guy on the sidelines before when they start getting in field goal range, you would see it on his face if he's not going to make it or not, because he just looks so freaking nervous. So I don't know.
I think he got iced by the Arizona State training staff. They accidentally walked in front of him, and too bad. But
you talk about the penalty. The penalty.
I mean, okay. So again, I'll just give you my instant reaction from inside the stadium watching the replay. I was like, that is textbook targeting, right? And I know people talk about the crown and all that stuff, but to me, the helmet was the first thing that made contact with the wide receiver. Wide receiver's defenseless because he's caught the ball and turned around, so he has no way to defend himself. It's targeting. And I even now, I remember looking at it and going to my buddy from Arizona. I'm like, oh, all right, you guys are going to be in field goal range now. And that was the chat. Everyone's waiting for them to look it out. I was like, all right, well, what's next? We're going to run the ball. We're going to get in field goal range. And then when the referee goes, no targeting, I was like, am I in the twilight zone? I couldn't believe it. And again, I've seen more two-sided debate online than I thought I would, because the people saying it's not targeting are saying you need to lead with the crown of your helmet. That's an aspect of the rule, but it's not the be-all end-all. Essentially, if you lead with your helmet to a defensive receiver and you make contact with their helmet, which is exactly what happened, it's targeting. So I don't know how you're going to replay and that gets missed.
It just seems like the refs made a conscious decision to not want to impact the outcome of the game based on a call. It seemed pretty clear to me as well. Even the the extra ref that's in the booth who usually agrees with the referees on absolutely everything. They're just basically like a cheerleader for the refs. Even he said he thought that was targeting. So I don't know where you go from there. It cost them the game potentially. Now with the field goal kicking, I can't say they would have made the field goal. Yeah, but yeah, it seemed like there was some clear intent, and the refs have been getting involved in every single game. They're throwing so many flags right now. To pick one up there just seemed very interesting, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I get it. Like you never wanted a game to be decided by a referee call, right? But as a referee, you need to take that out of the equation. You need to make a call just based on what you see, no matter what. Let's think about the Super Bowl, Eagles and Chiefs a couple of years ago, the holding call on whoever it was, the cornerback. The referee doesn't want to make that call. He doesn't want to call that, but you got to call it. So very surprised. I was very, very surprised. Still unsurprised. I haven't really heard an explanation or anyone come out and say, no, it's not. Everyone I listen to, like in terms of, the experts are all saying that was targeting. So hard beat for them. But if you're Arizona, I think you're going to be very happy with the season and excited because they got this new young coach in there that's really got them going. They got a good young team. It seems like they're on the upward trajectory in the
What
Big
year is
12.
Scadaboo? Will he be back next year?
No, he's a senior. He's out of there.
Uh,
He's going to be a great pickup for
he just made him some
anyone.
money in
Yeah,
one
I
game,
mean, I mean, at Seattle, we always go and get running backs, but I would take him like as a receiving running back, just a physical running back. He had it all. I think he had 245 yards from scrimmage, something like that, like 242. That's crazy.
Just that grit. If I want an NFL team, like I want guys with grit, I
Yep.
want guys who are just gonna like show up when the lights are brightest. And that's what he did. So I'm not saying it's gonna be a top 10 pick, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I figured he'd be at least a second rounder. Somebody's gonna take a flyer on him just from that one game.
He'd be great value in the second round for sure. Because GT is going to go early. He's going to be the one running back that the Cowboys or someone takes, and so there'll be some good value for him in the second round. All right, Oregon and Ohio State. We just spoke about it. So disappointing. I mean, this game was ready to go. First of all, can you believe they started the game when Texas and Arizona were still playing?
Yeah, I was pretty shocked by that. I was watching the Texas Arizona State game, and oh yeah, we've started the game. It's on ESPN2 if you want to. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So I have to decide which game I have to watch. Like,
Yeah,
what is that?
Like college football has never stuck to a kickoff time. Like how many times during the season does a 3:30 game go over, and so the 7:30 game doesn't start till 8:15 sometimes? Like I was surprised. I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert. There might be some, you know, Pasadena's a very residential area, I imagine. So I don't know if maybe there was some, ordinance where you have to finish by a certain time. But I mean, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Yeah, and who cares? And then by then, I think the Georgia Notre Dame game had already been delayed the next day, right? That had already been declared at that point. So they weren't trying to get that game done early to get the Notre Dame and Georgia game in time. So I mean, a half hour can delay it a half hour. It made no sense to me.
it was weird, but didn't miss much, to be honest with you, because this was a blowout. Jeremiah Smith, I think he still has another year as well. Dan Orlovsky says that he would be the number one pick in the draft this year if he was declaring. That's how dominant he is. He had 187 yards on 7 receptions for 2 touchdowns. That's just a dominant game. And it wasn't just his receptions. It's like the separation he got and then the physicality and the speed and the size. Like this guy is a beast. Will Howard had a good game. I mean, Ohio State has just shot into favoritism for the national championship. Where did they go wrong for Oregon?
Well, if you look at their stats, I mean, they had. I know Dylan Gabriel had some issues or whatever, but they ran for a negative 23 yards in the game. They had 28 carries for a negative 23 yards, and Ohio State rushed for 181. So I mean, that's time of possession, right? And it just seems like I thought the whole Michigan flag planting thing was really gonna be like Ryan Day's downfall, and it seems to have just had this Ohio State team come together, and they just want something to prove, and they're just bashing people right now. I mean, they are just tearing people up. And maybe Oregon got a little, they may got a little arrogant, maybe they got a little cocky, and maybe they, they're the number one team. They don't, blah 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 blah. And maybe they just came in, thought they were going to do the same thing they did the first time these guys met, and it just kind of blew up in their face. So, I didn't think Dylan Gabriel played bad. I mean, I think he was okay. They just, before they could even breathe, they were down by two touchdowns.
But that's the issue, right? Like, yeah, they weren't playing bad, but it was like you miss a third down here and there, you punt the ball away, and then Ohio State scores. Well, okay, then you get another possession, and you move it a little bit, 4th down, we'll punt it away again. Ohio score. So like, you didn't have a chance to even respond. And yeah, by halftime it was 34-8. I went back and was like listening to us talk about Ohio State and Tennessee, and we're all like, well, I think Tennessee dog walks them. I think they're shot. And now I'm looking back, being like, that was one of the worst takes I've had. I can't believe how dominant they've been in the last 2 games since then. But good for Ryan Day. We've been talking about him being in the hot seat and and the impact of losing 4 times in a row to Michigan and how that impacts the whole program. But I mean, you go into a semifinal as a 7-point favorite against a very good Texas team. You guys are on the roll, so yeah, I got nothing else to say. I mean, they're clearly the best team right now, and they're the favorites.
Yeah, as much as
And
I was
we
hating
liking
on
their
them.
chances.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Looking at what Texas had just done, they're obviously vulnerable right now. And then to say that either Notre Dame or Penn State is going to be in the championship game is nothing I ever believed I would say before the season started. But one of those teams is going to be in the championship game no matter what. So, I mean, I don't know. It feels like I think this is going to be Ohio State's biggest test is this week.
Yeah,
Mean,
I
I
agree.
just feel like this is the championship game because I'm still not a believer in Penn State or Notre Dame as that same top tier. So I don't know. We'll see when the games are played. But Ohio State jumped out; they're a big favorite, against Texas. I think it's 6 points right now. So that's a big line for a semifinals game.
And I don't know about you, but like that excitement about the playoffs it's not there for the semifinals. It should be. Like this should be like these are the best 4 teams. We're getting ready to go. I'm like, yeah, I've not been a fan of Penn State all year. They played Ohio State in Penn at home, and Penn State looked awful. They just were. They didn't have the size or the speed to keep up with Ohio State. Notre Dame, I mean, yeah, all right, they've got a great defense. I'm not going to doubt that, but their offense is really nothing special.
Yeah.
And so you get a more efficient and a more well-rounded offense like Ohio State. Unfortunately, Georgia. We'll talk about Georgia, but I just don't know how Notre Dame keeps up with them. I mean, like they're talking about Riley Leonard. He led them all the way. The dude had 90 yards passing and a touchdown, and then 80 yards rushing. It's like, are you a national championship caliber quarterback? I don't think so, but they're all riding him like he's their savior. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they got to play at SMU, which obviously were overpowered, and then Boise State. They were just like, we're not going to let Ashton Jeanty beat us. Like, we're just going to do it. And that's all they had to do. It was very one dimensional, right? So when you're talking about Ohio potentially playing in Ohio State or even a Texas, like these are multi-dimensional teams. These are not one-dimensional teams. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to watch them. I'm going to watch them. I hope I get some good games. I hope that at least. But yeah, I mean, my kind of rooting interest has kind of fell by the wayside. So.
All right, so quickly because I want to move on to the NFL, but do you think Ohio State covers? I mean, I'm assuming you're picking them to win against Texas.
I would pick Ohio State. I would pick Ohio State to win.
Yeah, and cover 6 points.
I think they do.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
And then, yeah, I think they'll cover. Texas has a good defense. I think their offense is a little bit, but I mean,
Texas just had to waste so much energy on that last game. I just think that's going to be. I think that's going to be tough on them to come back from that mental aspect of that last game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, like we've seen Ohio State against Michigan not show up to games. So I don't know, but right now, in terms of momentum, I think it's going to be very tough for Texas to keep up with them. And then Penn State and Notre Dame is an interesting one. I don't know the line.
It's Notre Dame -1.5 right now.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah, it's very close.
To me, it's 2 mediocre teams. So I was like, I'm excited. I think it'll be a good game to watch, but I'm not like, oh, this is 2 of the best. It's not the way I felt about Ohio State and Oregon going into that game. So I think defense wins it. So whichever defense does better, it might come down to 1 or 2 moments. I mean, we'll talk about the Georgia and Notre Dame game quickly. That really came down to a couple of fumbles. It wasn't like Notre Dame dominated. It was just
that was the game that the score was a multi-touchdown game, but it was the closest than Texas Arizona State. It was a lot closer than the score was, right? You had the punt return touchdown, and then you had Gunner turning the ball over right there in the red zone. Notre Dame gets to quit touchdown. There's 14 points right there, and then that was your ball game.
It was 57 seconds of game time. You had a field goal and 2 touchdowns on either side of the half. So you had 17 of their 23 points came in that little moment there. we were kind of going back and forth yesterday about Georgia, and I was saying, it's an underachieving, disappointing season. And you're sitting there saying, you guys want it all, you want to win.
Well,
But
that's true. I mean, what do you expect from Georgia every single year? You expect them to win a national championship every single year? It's not just not going to happen. It's not realistic.
Like, you can go back to this whole season, and every week it seems like we were talking about like, Georgia like underwhelming, or they made the game harder than what it was, and it wasn't that exciting. And Kirby's dissing on the fans, dissing his own players, doing all these things. They get blown out by Alabama and make this huge comeback, and then we're talking about a tale of two teams. And I feel like Georgia never got to the level that Georgia was capable of getting to. And this game was the perfect conclusion for that. Like they were close, they had some moments, but then they turned the ball over. Defensively, they were looking okay, and then they'll give away a penalty, or they can't get the quarterback down. He runs rings around them. So it felt like a season that fell flat, but never really took off from the start. And they were the AP #1 team preseason. So
nobody cares about that.
I think that they underachieved overall. I mean, look at Carson Beck was coming off a 45 touchdown season the year before, #1 quarterback prospect, and look how that ended for him. Etienne never really got in the field. He was in and out every now and then. Their wide receivers dropped so many balls every single game. I don't know. I think you'd be disappointed if you're a Georgia fan.
I don't. I think with all the turmoil that they have gone through, and know that I think every Georgia fan is happy that Carson Beck is moving on to greener pastures. And I think every Georgia fan was absolutely elated by what they saw from Gunnar Stockton yesterday.
He was good. Yeah, he was really good.
If you want to say this season's disappointment, they still won the SEC. They still made it to the playoff. I mean, if you're setting the bar at the highest level that you could for a college football team, okay. But when I think of disappointing, I think of a team that this was their last ride. This was their last chance to make something happen. When I watched that team yesterday, you fix a few things, which I think Bobo needs to go. I'm just done. We were done with him the last time. I don't know why they brought him back. Kirby needs to do the right thing and needs to get a younger, more new age offensive coordinator. But when I look at, as I said, you get a couple of receivers, you get a left tackle. I think everything else is in place. The defense is always going to be good as long as Kirby is there. And Gunnar just looked like a huge upgrade to me over Carson Beck. He was the best part of their entire team yesterday, and it was his first start ever. So, Yes, you're disappointed that they lost, but I think you still have to be super excited about where this team is going to be heading into next year.
I'll get excited when I see them make the changes you just spoke about. Left tackle, holy hell. I've never seen a guy get so steamrolled over and over again. And poor Gunnar, blindside blocker, just isn't doing his job. That was tough for him. Offense was pretty stale all year, so I wouldn't mind a change up there. Wide receiver, we need to get a wide receiver 1. I think they were all a bunch of number 2s.
They like a tight end 1. That's what they're real, because they like the short passing, keep the chains moving. You don't need a Brock Bowers. He's a game changer. But it seems like their tight end position, which we didn't really talk about, kind of fell flat the entire season as well. We talked about the receivers a lot, but there was really no go-to tight end either.
Yeah, I think Oscar Delp, with another year under his belt, he's got potential. And then it was a Lockie, I can't remember the other tight end. He looked okay, so we'll see how the offseason goes with them. But disappointing for them. Oregon, disappointing for them too to end their season. But we'll see what happens with them. Arizona State, I think you'll be pretty happy about.
Yeah. Yeah, there can only be one winner, so that's how it go. Unless you get to play in the, Alamo TaxSlayer.com bowl or something like that, So it's real big wins down there.
Pop-Tarts Bowl might be the greatest marketing campaign of all time. Okay.
Yeah, they eat like a Pop-Tart on the field. It's kind of weird.
So they ate the strawberry Pop-Tart last year. Okay. Then I don't know. Did you see this? This needs to get some airtime.
The thing in the toaster? You talking about the toaster thing? I saw something.
Okay, so last season they put the strawberry Pop-Tart through the toaster and they ate him, right?
Yeah.
This year, as the teams are walking out on top of the stadium, they brought back the strawberry Pop-Tart, but it was like a zombie, and he had his mascot outfit had all eaten parts of him. and then they had 3 more, and it was a fan vote. You voted for which one you wanted to toast, and then the one that won is all pumped up. I'm like, you're about to get eaten. It's just, I had a whole bar watch. I'm like, guys, you need to watch this. And they're like, what's happening? I was like, and I told them the backstory, and like, oh wow. And I had the whole bar not even caring about the game. I'm waiting for this Pop-Tart to jump into a toaster. It's the greatest thing of all time. I really hope one year Georgia gets to play in the Pop-Tarts bowl.
Well, that's what somebody's seen. It's like the Savannah Bananas, you know, you got like nobody's there to watch the game. They're there for the entertainment aspect of it, you know? Yeah. So I think more of these teams need to take that and run with it.
You know what? I think the Rose Bowl's run its course. Hey, let's get the Pop-Tarts Bowl right in there, and that should be a semi-final every year, because that's just a party.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, so we got 2 semifinals next week, Thursday and Friday. I think Thursday is Texas and Ohio State. Friday is Notre Dame and Penn State, or the other way around, actually. I can't remember, but it's next Thursday and Friday, so we'll chat before then, and let's just
see what we get.
Some good games.
Yeah.
All right, NFL time. We're headed into the last week of the season. Chaos across players getting sat, players sitting out, players playing, teams that need to win divisions,
teams trying to get the number one pick.
There's a lot going on into this week, and it all culminates with the battle for the number 1 seed. So I think the NFL low key is very, very happy about what's happening this week, which we'll start with your message. You had a little theory that the NFL wanted the Vikings to win last week against the Packers for this reason, which, you know, is not wrong. But what did you make of the Packers last week and their loss to Minnesota? I mean, how did you coming out of it?
So I'm not a guy that usually is like way up and way down. No, you kind of do that a lot.
That's me.
But
yeah.
I gotta say the Packers season is done. We are done for. We have zero chance to make a playoff run, and the reason why is last week I asked if the Packers, I just wanted to see them win one game against one of the top teams in the NFC. We can't do it. And it was very clear why. The Green Bay Packers don't have a lot of weaknesses. Good at running back, good at wide receiver, offensive line. Defense is okay, top 10 scoring defense. Our biggest weakness is every other team's NFC top team's biggest strength. Our secondary is the biggest weakness on our team. And if you look at the top teams in the NFC, I can name the team. You give me the receivers. Vikings, Jefferson and Addison. Eagles, right? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Rams, Puka and Cooper. Lions, Amon St. Brown and Jamison Williams. It just goes on. And we can't cover them one-on-one. We can't do it. So unless we can create a pass rush with 4 guys, which we do against the Saints, look great against the Saints. We have 4 guys. We're just taking out Spencer Rattler. Seahawks, when we play a team that has just a defense, a decent offensive line, like the Vikings do, like the Lions do, like the Eagles do, which I think they're the top 3 offensive lines in football right now, we can't create pass rush with 4 guys, and they just pick our zone apart because he can't play man-to-man. Jair's out. He's done. He had surgery. He's out for the rest of the year. They say come back. Yeah, he's done. He's officially done unless we get to the Super Bowl, which isn't going to happen. So we got the 7 seed now. The guy who made the comment on YouTube, you got your wish. Right? That's what you wanted. Packers lose to make Lions and Vikings play each other. But then I said, what about the Packers getting the 7 seed? Well, no, we'll just beat Chicago. No, if Washington wins this week, they get the 6 seed. We got the 7 seed. We'll beat the Bears. We'll have to play in Philadelphia against the Eagles. You can't guard Saquon and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith at the same time. Green Bay is going to be 1 and done this year. Done.
Yeah, it is tough because for the last month or so, it's been like, you know, look out for Green Bay in the 5th or 6th seed and Minnesota, and now it's 7. And yeah, that's going to be a tough game against Philadelphia.
And I felt hope because I thought Jair was coming back, and I've talked about this a million times. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But like, he was the only thing we had. Now he's gone. Like Keyshawn Nixon, he cannot cover A.J. Brown. so if you have to put 2 guys on A.J. Brown, what do you think Saquon Barkley's about to do when the man was about to break the all-time rushing record until he sat out this week? So just not good. You got to play Eagles, and then you have to play probably the Vikings or the Lions, and then you have to play the like.
When does Toyotathon end?
What is it?
Toyotathon?
What is that? Toyotathon.
Have you not seen Jordan Love's stats when Toyotathon is on versus when it's not?
Oh, I don't know about that. You're the advertising guy, not me, man.
All right, so you know Toyotathon's this big Toyota sale, whatever it is. But someone made a graphic of Jordan Love's stats during Toyotathon and when it's not Toyotathon, and the guy is pretty much Tom Brady. during Toyotathon. So whilst Toyotathon is still on, I don't write you guys off, but it is tough. Speaking of the Eagles, speaking of Saquon, what would you have done?
He needs to play.
You think
if I'm Saquon, I want to play.
Mm.
But they don't want to risk the injury and all that stuff. He only needs like 100 yards. If I'm him, I'll play him the first quarter. And if he looks like, because they're playing the Giants, right? Aren't they playing the Giants?
Yeah, playing Giants.
So he can. So what better way to give the screw you and up yours to your former team than to break the all-time rushing record? And a lot of the talk shows have talked about this. Running backs aren't known for, they're not known for how many Super Bowls they win or what have you. They're known for the records that they break. And to break an all-time record, I mean, I just think this is the only time in his life he's going to get that opportunity to be immortalized for who knows how long, right? I don't know. It might not be broken in our lifetime. We don't know. I just think he should have got the chance to start that game and to see what he could have done. Maybe got it in the first half. And then they could take him out of the game. I don't like the sitting out. I don't like it at all.
Do you think Sirianni would have given him the opportunity, or he took it away from him?
No, I think Sirianni took it away from him. I think Saquon probably would have done whatever. Saquon seems like a total team player, team guy. Yeah. I think he's going to do whatever the coach says. But Sirianni's on his own hot seat, even though they're 13-3, and he knows in his head that if he plays Saquon and Saquon gets hurt and they lose, that he could be fired. He could still be fired if he does something like that. So yeah. I get it. But I don't know. How many guys are going to play this week to get some kind of roster bonus or some kind of stat bonus or whatever? I don't see what the difference is to me.
I think like Saquon's been on the Giants his whole career, right? So he's never been in a situation where he can go and compete in a Super Bowl. He hit his 2,000 last week. I think that's in itself a major achievement. And let's not forget, it's a 17-game season now, so he essentially has an extra week to get it if he wanted to this week. So I think hitting 2,000, going into the number 2 seed, having a chance at the playoffs, take a rest. I get it. I get the record and like it's disappointing. Maybe if it was like 60 yards, I'd do what you're saying. But 100 yards, that's a lot of work sometimes.
I guess I don't know. I'd like to see guys go for it because I think it makes it more entertaining for the game and stuff like that. But I mean, I get the risk injury of it. I just think the Giant. I mean, what better than to do it against the Giants? I just think it seemed like a perfect scenario, and unfortunately, they don't have it. They don't have a chance to get the 1 seed. So,
well, I'll tell you what. If you've never been to an NFL game before and you want to go this week, this is the week to go. We've got Tennessee and Houston, tickets as low as $5. Indianapolis and Jacksonville, tickets as low as $7. Atlanta and Carolina, tickets as low as $23. Dallas and Washington, tickets as low as $18. This is the time to go. But Philadelphia, tickets are as low as $30. So it looks like they're going to rest a lot of their stars. Speaking of resting, we're also going back and forth on this, but it looks like the Chiefs are resting everyone.
Well, don't look like.
Well, they are resting everyone, right?
Broncos 10.5-point favorites.
Broncos need to win to make the playoffs because they've got 2 teams. They've got Miami, who are playing New York, and then they've got the Bengals, who everyone's been talking about. They're playing on Saturday, breathing down their neck. I understand sitting all your starters, but for the Chiefs, you're number 1 seed. So you've already got a week off after this. So now Patrick Mahomes is not going to have played for 2 weeks. All these guys aren't going to have played for 2 weeks. And we just spoke about what happened in college football with that momentum and a bit of rust. I don't know.
It's different. It's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. Is these guys' first rodeo? They've been together forever. What do you think? You think having 2 weeks off and pouring a 1 week off is going to make the Kansas City Chiefs, the number 1 seed, not ready to go in their playoff game? That's what you're hinting at. That's what you're saying, right?
I'm hoping, to be honest with you. I know that all the year I've been like they're not great. They're not looking very good. But the last couple of weeks they're looking very cheapy again.
Turned it up.
The same thing happened last year with Rashee Rice. Like he was a rookie and he took a while to get going, and then like right now, same thing's happening with Xavier Worthy. Like he's starting to really become a solid wide receiver.
Hollywood Brown is back, right? DeAndre Hopkins has got more comfortable. Pacheco came back. And you just have this team that they're starting to hit on all cylinders at the right time. Xavier Worthy, obviously, he's a rookie. He's coming along, and I don't know what you guys say about him. There's just not a lot to say at this point. Trent Kelsey has had his best games of the year the last couple games, hasn't he? I think he's had he was terrible at the beginning of the year, and here it comes. So
I hate it. They're gonna do it again.
So
I hate it because like the Ravens and the Bills, like they're such great teams, and they just run into a Kansas City brick wall.
So what do you think on the theory with the Chiefs though? Like, there's been a lot of talk about, do you lose to the Broncos on purpose, or what are you trying to do to keep the Bengals out? Do you think there's any thought in their mind about that whatsoever?
If you're the Chiefs and you're the number 1 seed, if I'm Andy Reid, first of all, I don't think it's possible to tell players. It's like saying to the Giants, go and lose. Like, you can't tell.
No, you don't tell them to lose. You do it with your decisions of who plays and who doesn't play.
Yeah, I mean that probably made it easier for them, right? Like, all right, well, we have a chance to rest players. Do we do it? Oh well, we want Denver to win.
What if he plays Carson Wentz and they're actually up at halftime and he's like, nah, let's give the third stringer some opportunities, right? You can do it like those kind of ways.
I think he'll do that.
But what if he? I don't know.
Because you want to give Carson Wentz reps in case something happens to Patrick Mahomes. So there's no point giving the third string reps.
Well, then he starts pulling the wide receivers or pulling defensive, like not the top tier guys. He starts pulling those second tier guys.
You could. I don't think they're worried about the Bengals. I know like there's momentum with them and all that, but still, when you look at the Bengals team, their defense is still terrible. It's like this offensive juggernaut. And then if you're the Chiefs, you're like I wouldn't be scared of anyone. I'm like, hey, you're gonna need to come to Kansas City and beat us.
No, you're not scared. But
I'm not scared, but I don't think. What's the saying? Like, a lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep. Like, if you're the Chiefs, you're the best team in the NFL. You've been the best team for the last 7 years. I'm like, you bring whoever you want. I'm not gonna let who's in the playoffs dictate my game plan. This is what I'm doing.
Joe Burrow ain't no sheep. Okay, so in my MVP vote, I don't get an official MVP vote, but in my mind, my unofficial MVP vote, Joe Burrow's ahead of Josh Allen. So he jumped him this past week to me.
You can do that, but if they don't make the playoffs, I don't know how you can be an MVP.
Woo, that was some hero ball he was playing. Oh my Lord!
He's so good.
Oh my God!
So
I understand the Chiefs are the bat Super Bowl champions, but in the back of your mind, you have to be thinking, I just don't want to not the team. I don't want to play that one guy, because what he does in the regular season, as opposed to all these other guys, we've seen it translate into the postseason. I haven't seen it translate with Lamar yet. I haven't seen it translate with Josh Allen. Obviously, Bo Nix, right, and Herbert and all these guys. The only guy that I've seen it translate is Joe Burrow. So that scares me. That would scare me a little bit. Just be thinking about it in the back of my mind.
It'll be there. I'll tell you what though, Cincinnati, they got to figure out a way to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because T. Higgins is so underrated.
It's not gonna. How much does Joe Burrow make?
I mean, he's on like 50, 60,
55, I think 60.
Yeah.
Jamar is going to get paid like the most, right? He's going to get Jefferson money, which is what, 35, right? So you're at basically.
He would probably go close to 40.
So you're at $100 million with 2 players. T. Higgins is going to demand at what? He's going to get at least what, 25 to 30?
No, T. Higgins could push 30 easily.
Oh, so you're going to spend 130. What's the NFL salary cap at? I mean, that's got to be like. Okay, you have half your salary cap for more than half your salary cap for 3 guys. Yeah, it's just not in that franchise. Cincinnati.
I know it's tough, right? But if you're thinking about the NFL, the salary cap's kind of bullshit, right? You have voided contracts, you have bonuses, you push them down, you restructure them. If I'm Joe Burrow and I run this team, I'm saying like, hey, let's convert this to a bonus and push it down the track. Let's push this down, because right now we're a defensive coordinator and some defensive players away from being the best team.
Some defensive players?
I mean,
How about like 10 other than Trey Hendrickson? They're like 10 defensive players away. The problem is, you're talking about T. Higgins, he's going to get like more than $30 million, but like he gets to play against the number 2 corner every single game. Jamar Chase is the guy, right? He gets all the top corners in every single game that he plays. You don't think T. Higgins numbers are inflated a little bit with Joe Burrow plus Jamar Chase on the other side? Because I think they are.
Of course
he's
they
great.
are. But
yeah,
if you're the Patriots and you need a receiver, number 1 receiver, they're gonna. These bad teams have to overpay to get these players. So T. Higgins is gonna demand $30 million.
The Jets need another receiver. Aaron Rodgers needs another one. T. Higgins is going to the Jets. He doesn't have enough help over there. So let's get him over
there. Not if Sauce Gardner has anything to say about it.
No, I can see him going. Oh yeah, he wants out.
No, but like someone, he commented on a photo saying, "Pay this man," about T. Higgins, and someone goes, "Bring him, like, convince him to come to the Jets," and he responded going, "I will not be doing that." I'm like, oh boy.
I could see T going to like Jacksonville or something like that, right? Or somebody that needs still trying to be relevant. But
I mean, you have Jacksonville. You have, I mean, if the Patriots are all in on Drake May, the Patriots will throw money at him. If New York, I know New York Giants have Malik Neighbors, but if they go and draft a quarterback and they've got a window of quarterback on a rookie salary, they would throw the bank at them. Los Angeles.
If Buffalo's a one and done, and I don't think Amari Cooper's going to be back next year, I don't think it's really worked out. I mean, they could try to get their Stephon Diggs type player back, because I don't know, they could do something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, but big week for the Bengals. They play Pittsburgh. A lot on the line for Pittsburgh as well, because
who plays first? Does Baltimore play first? Is Pittsburgh
plays first? But outside of that, Pittsburgh could push down to the 6th seed, which would then play Baltimore, or
you don't want to play Baltimore in the first round. You can play Houston, and I don't think Baltimore's losing. They're 20-point favorites, I think, right now. I think so. I think the division is kind of out of reach at this point, right? So yeah, I mean, I just don't know what else to say. You got Baltimore at 11-5. You got Pittsburgh at 10-6, and well, he's talking about if they played the Texans, that would be amazing. They haven't had to play Baltimore in the first round. I think Baltimore would beat them. I think Pittsburgh's in a little bit of trouble right now, and they were my team, and they were doing really well, and now they've lost 3 in a row, and Russ seems to be struggling a little bit, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to contend here going forward. So I just don't know. A couple of other takes. We lost Mark for a second here, so I'll keep going. There's been a lot of debate on the MVP race. A lot of people are saying that Josh Allen is the shoe-in, absolutely diehard winner. Even though I'm not going to disagree with Vegas or the odds makers, I vehemently disagree with that opinion. If I had a vote, which I talked about earlier, I do not have a vote, but if I did, I would still have Lamar at number 1. I think his regular seasons, regardless of what I think of his postseason, have been amazing. I think his stats have been absolutely astronomical off the board. I would have him at 1 due to them winning that very tough division and his numbers. I would actually have Joe Burrow at 2. If you look at his stats and just the way that his defense has been absolutely terrible, the fact that they even have a chance to make the playoffs at this point, I think is absolutely incredible. I would have him at 2. I would have Saquon at 3, like we just talked about. He had a chance to break the all-time rushing record, not going to do it because they got the 2 seed locked up. Can't go any higher, can't go any lower. And I would have Josh Allen at 4. And my reasoning is the way they're like, oh, Josh Allen. If you put an average quarterback on the Buffalo Bills team, okay, they're 13-3 right now. If you say you took like the 16th rated quarterback in the NFL and you put them on the Buffalo Bills, I still think they would have 9 wins minimum at this point in that division. Against the Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots, that's 6 easy wins right there. So you get 3 wins against the rest of the NFL. It gives you your 9 right there. So when I look at the other teams, if Baltimore had an average level quarterback, they'd probably have about 6 wins right now. If Cincinnati had an average quarterback, they'd be at about 2. They'd have about 2 wins right now. So when you talk about the most valuable player, they say Josh Allen is irreplaceable. Josh Allen's the best thing since sliced bread. Josh Allen can do it all. I think those other quarterbacks, we don't even talk about Saquon. I think I could talk about Saquon too if I needed to, but I think those other quarterbacks have done more for their teams than Josh Allen's done for his. And that might be a opinion that not a lot of people agree with. But I just absolutely think that's the case with that team. I still don't trust Buffalo going into the playoffs. I'd love for them to have me show me what they can do. Obviously, they'll be the 2 seed, so they're going to get either the Broncos or the Bengals. They had to play the Bengals in that first round. I would be taking the Bengals points for sure against Joe Burrow. So we'll definitely see what happens with that. Looking forward to the games going on here. A lot of them do not have a lot of meaning. We can go down the list. Obviously, we talked about the Ravens. They're 20-point favorites. That's our first game on Saturday. And then we have Bengals Steelers. Bengals 2.5-point favorites. It's going to be a great game with a lot of implications, and it's on a standalone Saturday night game. So that'll be a big one. And then we have Panthers Falcons. The Falcons have to win this one. Huge playoff implications for them. I believe if they have to win this game, and then Tampa Bay that plays the Saints have to lose, and then Atlanta would be in. Otherwise, if Tampa Bay wins, they're in. They're 14-point favorites. So it looks like Tampa Bay's in, and the Falcons will be out. The Kirk experiment was a massive and utter failure. Did not work. So not too good there. So yeah, which I did like what I saw from Penix. I think he's got some potential to do something. But yeah, just way too small sample size. Cowboys, Commanders, nobody cares about any of that. Bears, Packers, nobody cares about that. Obviously, there are seeding implications. If the Commanders win, they are the 6th seed, and Green Bay is the 7th seed. If the Commanders lose to the Cowboys and the Packers win, then the seeds get flipped. Texans, Titans, ain't much happening there. Texans have looked, they won that bad division, but they're just kind of just crawling into the postseason. Maybe they can surprise us, but they've been decimated on, especially at the wide receiver position. Jags, Colts, nope. Bills, Patriots, nope. Giants, Eagles, we talked about, nope. Saints, Bucks, we talked about. Chiefs, Broncos, we talked about at length. Chargers, Raiders. Chargers are a playoff team, but the Raiders are just, I don't know. They've given up on life, it feels like. Rams, Seahawks. Rams already got the division sewn up, so they're going to rest all their starters. Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites. Dolphins, Jets. Oh, the Aaron Rodgers experiment failed miraculously. What a shock. The Aaron Rodgers experience did not work. And there's a lot of questions about the Jets this offseason. It sounds like, based on what I'm hearing from Aaron Rodgers and out there, that they are basically going to be done and that he is going to be released. And he said he was willing to go to another team if they want to take him. Very interesting. He'll be, 41? I wouldn't want him within 1,000 miles of my football team, but there's always that one team that is dumb enough to believe the hype and buy it, what he's selling. So we'll see what's going on with that. 49ers, Cardinals are both done. And then we got the game of the year, basically, the Vikings and the Lions. Lions are 2.5 points favorites. So they're at home. You usually get 3 for being at home. I don't know how Detroit is a favorite in this game. Whew, man, we have come full circle with Minnesota, have we not? I wrote them off weeks ago. And I wrote Sam Darnold off. I said he was turning back into a pumpkin. I said he was trash. And man, oh man, oh man, has he absolutely shocked me. The team has shocked me. They are 14-2, so they're going to be a minimum 14-3. But talk about the implications for this game, right? The winner gets the 1 seed and home advantage throughout as long as they last in the playoffs. The loser gets the 5 seed and goes straight on the road. So it's a huge game. Oh, there he is. You all right?
I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I've just been talking. I've just been talking until you came back.
Well,
so, the last thing I was talking about, I've been talking about the Vikings and Lions game. But if you want to go into a different aura, like I said, this is your show, buddy. You take it away.
No, let's do that. I mean,
I was kind of wrapping up with that. I was talking about the implications of this game.
It's kind of wild that the Vikings are a win away from the number 1 seed. Like,
I said I wrote. Think about how I wrote them. Remember we did the playoff versus contender versus cooked. I wrote them off, and I think a lot of people did. And I just can't say enough. I hate the Vikings. They're always been the Packers' biggest rival, but I got to give credit where it's due. I mean, you want to talk about a coaching job of the year, of the century.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so impressed with what, McConnell and Flores have done with this team from a coaching perspective. Sam Darnold, I mean, obviously he's had a good offensive line. He has great weapons, but I mean, he just looks absolutely in control of that team, and he has just fit into that system absolutely perfectly. And I just got to eat my words. I thought he was going to be terrible eventually.
I think we all got to eat our words. I think when they lost to the Rams, the face mask game, that was you're like, all right, here we go. Like, because the Rams weren't going very well at the time. You're like, all right, here we go. The Vikings are coming back down to earth. And now we're coming into the last week. They've lost twice all year. It's crazy. But
and I was talking about the line. Do you think the Lions should be a favorite in this game?
Are they?
They're 2.5-point favorites. They're at home, so you get 3, but basically we're saying it's a push. But I was shocked the way that the Lions have been decimated, especially on defense, and the way the Vikings have been playing that. And the Lions barely beat the Vikings the first time they played. I was shocked that the Lions came out as a favorite.
Yeah, I am too, just because the Lions right now seem to be in this phase of like, all right, our defense is shot, so we're going to score 50 points a game. That's how we're going to win.
Yep.
And I mean, the Vikings defense is the best in the league, I would say.
Yeah. The way that Jared Goff the way that Jared Goff struggles under pressure, and the Vikings blitz more than any team in football. And it just seems like Flores is going to have a lot of like design blitzes that's going to give some pressure on Goff. So just to say that the Lions are supposed to win this game, I don't see it. No. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be shocked, but I just see the Vikings winning this game and being the 1 seed and being 15-2.
Yeah, and like when we played them a couple of weeks ago, Seattle. I haven't watched the Vikings too much, like too closely, but like it wasn't just Justin Jefferson's the only guy. Like they were patient. They moved down the field, and then like when the opportunity was there, they went big. And you have Addison and Justin Jefferson, but it's not like that's all they have. They've got so many ways. Hawkinson, good O-line.
The way that Aaron Jones always shows up during this time of the year, he is a playoff machine. He always was for Green Bay.
Yeah.
And I think he just gets going this time of the year. Yeah. If their defense can hold Detroit under 26, 27-ish, I think the Vikings are going to score in the 30s easily. They said Justin Jefferson has played in Detroit 4 times. He averages 180 receiving yards a game in those 4 games he's played in Detroit. 180.
Good for him too, because when they let Kirk go, you kind of think you're a bit of a rebuild and all this stuff, and they're straight up there. A lot of question marks, though. One, obviously, what do you do with quarterback next season? Like, do you just go to JJ?
Oh,
do you trade JJ? Do you pay Darnold? Because, again, we spoke about T. Higgins going to get money from a desperate team. Darnold is going to find someone that's going to give him $30 million, $40 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
The dollar, every time he wins a game like this, the dollars just keep going up
and up.
So I think we're still got to see what he does in the playoffs. I think if they're a one and done and he doesn't look particularly good, I don't think that'd be too good for him. But I mean, JJ's still on a rookie contract. If I'm him, if I can get Darnold for $30 million or under, I'm going to run it back with both of them. And Darnold's going to be my starter next year. And then I'm going to continue to develop JJ. I don't
know how that happens when they got Daniel Jones. It's like, why do they get him? It's like they're already starting the plan for next year without one of them.
Yeah, but what would you give for JJ McCarthy right now? They'll never get back they'll never get back their return on investment for him. Somebody gonna give you a top 5, top 10 pick for JJ McCarthy?
No,
I just
don't see
it.
Number 1 for him. But you could get a 2nd and a 4th. You can get 2 out of there, and that works. I don't know. It's very interesting. And then Flores, I mean, I'm sure he's going to get interview requests for the coaching carousel. Basically, what he's done. So I mean, it's a lot, but good on him. I'm happy for him. They'll probably be the team that I'll be rooting for in the playoffs, just because I like an underdog. And Seattle's officially out, so big game, big game.
Hey, y'all gonna win 10 games again, man. Y'all are 6.5-point favorites. Rams are benching all their starters, and they just announced, I think. So y'all gonna have 10 wins.
Said again, we haven't had 10 wins since 2020. Just so you're aware.
Well, what'd y'all win last year?
We were 9 and 8 last year.
But y'all made the playoffs last year, right?
Missed the playoffs.
Oh,
2 years ago.
I think 2 years ago. Was it 9 wins then?
9 wins then. We were 9-8.
Man, y'all are just right there every year,
We're the
aren't
new
you?
Steelers. Like the Steelers, like they've always been like a 9-8 team. Now that's what we are.
Not when you get Kirk. Not when Kirk comes to town. You're going to be either a 4-win team next year or a 12-win team next year.
We're not going to get Kirk. I mean, that's not going to happen. But
you're going to get Kirk.
The McCarthy, Darnold.
You want JJ McCarthy?
I'm saying like I think we will be in the mix for the McCarthy Darnold situation. I also hate to say it, but I can also see us drafting like a Carson Beck because you're going to get him in the 3rd or 4th round, and then you can have him sit behind Geno for a year or two and like see what happens. So there's
what about Justin Fields?
I don't know. I've never really seen enough from Justin Fields in college or in the NFL to be like, yeah, this is a guy that's going to lead us to the Super Bowl. And I know we talk about Geno all the time, but yeah, he had some pretty bad turnovers in the red zone, which was annoying. But our O-line was so bad. I don't know if any quarterback could have thrived in those situations. So I don't know.
They said Kyler's going to be on the trade block. Go get him.
Kyler Murray? No,
yeah.
Same thing. I just don't see enough from him.
Because they've talked about, I've heard rumors that Kyler's going to go to Pittsburgh and they're going to like get off of Russ and Fields after this year.
All right, good for them. No, if I'm Seattle, I definitely want to make sure we get a quarterback because I'm just sick. It's been so dull when it's like Geno. I know we're not going to win with Geno, so I'm like,
I mean, 9 wins is just purgatory.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You just never want to be there. You want to be terrible, or you want to be really good. You never want to be in the middle.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, I'll take a JJ because he's a prospect. I'll take a Sam Darnold of what I've seen. I would even take a Carson Beck just based on like his natural ability. But
wait, one more name because he's going to be a free agent very soon.
Here.
Number 8, Mr. Aaron Rodgers the first. Yeah, he said that he's not going to go back to the Jets because they don't want him. They're going to release him, and he said he was going to go to any team that is willing to play him. What do you think? 1 year with the Jets or 1 year with the Seahawks, man.
I said that. I said it before he went to the Jets. I was like, I would take Aaron Rodgers for a year or two. No chance.
Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers against that offensive line? You need a mobile. Whoever you get, you need somebody who is like very mobile. So, yeah. And he's gone again. So, I think we're going to wrap her up and look forward to all the games and finally the playoffs get started. Once we get past that, the sad offseason of nothingness. So, hey, there he is.
We gotta wrap it up. I don't know what's going on.
I'm trying. I was about to wrap it up. So your internet's shaky today, buddy. So I was just talking about. I said, we got one more week and the playoffs start. So
yeah, we'll have a full preview next week. I think it's gonna be a great playoff series. Hopefully more exciting than the college football playoffs. But yeah, I'll have Derek back next week, so we'll have a good chat. And good luck to all the teams this week playing for playoff positions or number 1 picks or everything else in between. It's going to be a fun week. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Peace.